Oh, we go. Hello. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, we actually have audio off the bat this time.
Huzzah. It's an affiliate anniversary miracle.
Yeah, exactly.
Brett didn't know about the affiliate anniversary, but today's the big day. Thank you.
It's a very good little thing there, Mitts.
It's good to
Very on the nose.
It's good to see you, Josh. It's always great to see you and Mitch, Picard, the big trio. It's good to see you guys in. Thanks for joining us. I know we're butting up against Amiga Bill today, but it's always great to see people rolling in early. We actually got an early start today, and so here we are. It's astounding. Listen, hey, well, thank you, Texas Foosballer. It's good to see you, man.
In theory, this should be when we're starting from now on.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, unless you blow it.
Well, that's always a possibility, man.
Is.
So, it's been a long weekend, that's for sure. But I'm happy to get through this one. I know you are. What's your week looking like? What's that mean?
I don't plan ahead anymore.
So, Josh, due to Brent's massive life change, we're moving to 6 p.m. Sunday evenings.
Yep.
Going forward, we just can't. Brent is not available anymore at 10 a.m. Sunday morning. Which, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I like this time better, if I'm honest, because I'm awake. I like to be able to stay up late on Sunday. Plus, on Saturday night, so I don't mind it. I mean, it goes right in the middle of football games, but I'll get over it.
Football will be over soon enough. Unfortunately.
Thank you, Tex. I'm glad, man. So I've got it. This is Thanksgiving week, and so I'm going to be through.
Sorta.
This is the first time I've ever done Thanksgiving ever my whole life, and it's very daunting, especially since I was just served like a banquet at Pat and Barb's house over the weekend. She had standing rib roast and all this crazy great food. She made her own.
They're swinging for the fences. We're hoping to make contact.
Yeah, you got that right. Hey, Josh, we're just happy to see you, man. I hope everything's going well down your way. In fact, I invoked your name on the stream Friday because it was a very Josh-like stream. It reminded, because I used to watch 48K streams all the time, and sometimes crap went south because he was doing tricky stuff. And I did a stream. I don't know if you caught any of my stream Friday, but it was literally me trying out games in free DOS in real time. Would they work? Don't know. Would the sound work? Don't know. Which memory configuration? Don't know. Hit reset over and over and it still not work? Yes. I went 2.5 hours.
20 minutes of gameplay.
No, I actually invoked it in a good name, in a good way. Yeah, you're right. I should have saved that for one more week, but I've got another DOS. I've got another free DOS plan for early December where now that I've installed FreeDOS on a newer machine, I've got an old gateway that the same chick gave me. I'm going to install FreeDOS on an old ass machine and see how it does on there. And I'm going to get hey, what's up, Rom? Good to see you, man. But I'm going to get get this. No, before you whine, is it going to have an actual sound card? Yes. It's going to have a sound bus. It's going to have a game port. And I'm going to see if I can get all the same stuff. I'm going to try all the same stuff in with FreeDOS on an old machine. I'm not putting MS-DOS on it. You know it can run it. That's for suckers. Put FreeDOS on there, man. So scroll back up there. Hey, the doctor is in. What's up, Doc? It's good to see you, man.
I meant to bring my, just because of Drone Doctor's name, I meant to bring my drone up today.
I heard Dad was talking about your drone. Oh, yeah. You should get it out of storage for absolutely, man. That's far enough. I got it. I haven't seen the Doc a whole lot here, Reese. I know you're a busy man, Doc, but it's good to have you in. As we were talking about, this is our new time. We're going to be running at 6 o'clock Sundays, and except for the times that we can't do it, which I'm assuming most of the time. Now, Brent, get some pre-show plugs in for the big event on Friday. This is the week, so you can plug it as much as you want.
Yeah, Friday. Thanks for giving.
That plug sucked. I know you've done diligent behind-the-scenes work to bring this one online.
I've got a tab here called "Thanks for Giving 2023." I
Yeah.
thought I just might click that and
Whoa,
hope for the
Uncle
best.
Larry's in the house. What's up, Uncle Larry? Leroy is in.
Real quick, let's go to that scene. Let's see what it is.
Okay. It's a bad time to do
All
that.
right, well, now we know not to use
So your
Thanks for Giving
Thanksgiving scene
2023.
is just an empty dock from Samurai Showdown. That sucks. That sucks big time. Hope you had a good weekend, Leroy.
I don't remember using that last year.
Yeah, what happened to our big table and all the cool stuff on there?
You want to check out ARG Christmas?
No, don't do
Yeah,
it.
real
We don't have any
quick.
microphones. Nice, though. I like that.
I see. That one's better.
I got a nice Christmas shirt today too to wear. So I'm ready to go. This will be the last starting not next weekend, but the weekend after. It's our whole Christmas season of shows. Starting off with the Atari ST show, and then we'll do a Christmas Atari ST show, Christmas Coco show,
So
a Christmas ARG Presents, and
can I
a
ask a
Christmas R.
question?
Sinclair.
What
Yeah.
makes them Christmas shows outside of the fact that they're in December?
Oh yeah, Brock, he was just screwing around. We know he's an idiot. Um, so what makes them a Christmas show? Because we're gonna have a nice Christmas theme, background, Christmas opening.
Oh well, man, you're gonna be hard at work then.
No, I'm gonna use the ones I made for last year.
Oh, okay, so you're running all the shows in December?
Well, no, not ARG. That's yours. But I got the other ones. And R. Sinclair's yours. But I got the other ones.
I might see if I can find a snow overlay. Bam, done.
R. Sinclair didn't get a Christmas show last year, so it's the only one that didn't get one.
It has to get double Christmas.
So that means you've got to really work diligently.
Oh, wait, I have to do that one too?
That is yours, isn't it? Yeah. So that's yours. Listen, I did my work. Now let's do yours. Stop being a lazy bum.
Yeah, that's me. Good old lazy Brent.
Are you looking forward to the Christmas season?
No, I never look forward to Christmas.
Man, you are the biggest bah humbug. Yeah.
No,
18th banana Christmas.
Christmas is.
I'm gonna wear my shirt for that one.
Is it my least favorite holiday?
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, maybe Valentine's Day.
You're a grump. Thank you, man. We appreciate that, drummer. It feels good to have been here that long.
Hey, scrubby hands.
I can do it before the show. Why do you judge? Don't judge me. I got hand problems. You know that.
Whatever, scrubby.
I remember when we first started streaming on Twitch was because we got us kicked off of YouTube. That's the only time. That's when we started. That's the exact week.
Yep.
So we know that however many years ago today that we've been on Twitch was the week after we did that Bill and Ted movie show. They got us kicked off YouTube for a month. And by the way,
3 months.
Oh, that's right, 3 months. You'll recall that was right through the Amigathon, which really was a real bummer.
Yeah.
So. Hi, Scooby.
I remember Justin TV.
I remember it. I used to watch a lot of pirated stuff on there. But we're happy to be on Twitch. It's really been quite a
YouTube.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been quite a blessing to have Twitch in the back pocket. I didn't watch that much Twitch until we started being on there. I know you watched a lot of it, but I didn't. I wasn't really into it that much. And Twitch has screwed up multiple times. Like their management's dumb. They make dumb decisions. But so is YouTube. They're both dumb, but they're only games in town until I get our Kick channel off the ground. Hey, the Kick channel has one video on it that me and Flack did when we did Conversations on the Dark Side one week. It had 0 views. Because I don't know how
7 more than I expected.
I don't know how Kick works exactly, but we've got a channel in there with a video. And Bo told me to start broadcasting on it, so we might start doing Amigos on Kick. Why not? I got it set up.
Go ahead. Throw your bandwidth away.
Listen, why not support the up-and-comer? That's what I say.
Yeah.
And Kick isn't as outlaw as they used to be. They've got more rules than they used to. Yeah, you've been on Kick, Leroy. You might like it. There's a lot of gambling on there. That's what I like to watch on there. And these guys play big time money on there. Like,
Well,
that's their gambling channel.
Well, it's all a scam.
No, it's not. They're
Yeah,
really
no.
gambling.
No, they're gambling house money.
No,
Almost all.
No, you don't know what you're talking about.
I absolutely
Let me ask you a question.
do.
Who do you think who owns Kick?
I have no idea.
Who owns them? The gambling company. They own Kick.
Aaron, I don't want to say I personally know.
A lot of these guys came right off of Twitch.
I have gotten merchandise from one of the biggest gamblers that was on Twitch before they kicked him off. It's a high payback what you lost type of effect.
I think most things are a work.
Yes.
But I will not let you besmirch the name.
The good name of the gambling community. I'm not talking about Kick, you idiot.
I'm not. Yeah, but they're the ones they own they are big gambling. That's why they exist, because they got kicked off Twitch. Like, all right, screw you. We'll make our own Twitch. And they did.
With hookers and blackjack. They kept them both.
Well, the hookers, I mean, early on, it was the Wild West.
They both there.
But there's a couple other, like, outlaw video sites that I don't get on those that much, and I can't remember the names of them. Now, there will not be a hot tub extravaganza this year because Brent's son destroyed the hot tub. It's gone.
Yeah.
So
thankfully,
that's not going to happen.
We can have a office extravaganza. That's what that room is now. Huge office extravaganza.
What's that? If you watch people on Kick, have you ever done one of those video gambling sites? I mean, you're actually playing with like a real dealer in a real area. It's all a big stage.
I know.
They've got to be straight for like Russia or something. I think they're all Russian. But like the guy walks up to the table, he's doing all the stuff. And you're playing the hand that comes out.
Yes, Aaron, I know what you're talking about.
But every time I see it, have you ever seen a movie Casino?
I mean,
there's a scene that Joe Pesci's character's drunk and he's in the casino and he's playing blackjack. And this dealer gives him a card that would make it bust, and he takes it and throws it at the dealer. He goes, give me another one. He gives him another one that makes it bust. He throws it at the guy again. He goes, give me another one. And the guy's all timid. He gets him another one, and he goes, and then he has to tag out to another geek who keeps screwing him. It's so funny. I mean, not for the dealers. That's what I always think about. I love that movie. Good stuff. That's good stuff. That's the way gambling should be.
Yeah. Not a lot of profit in that.
No profit. Well, not for us, but for the mafia, they're making money. What I'm saying, that's what they're doing. I've already bought Christmas gifts. I didn't get to finish my thought on the Christmas thing because you were poo-pooing it. I bought some Christmas gifts this week, everybody, for the first time. I think I'm going to be in for a few bucks on Christmas this year.
Me too. Unfortunately, I mean it quite literally.
Yeah, that scene's brutal, Leroy. And also the Vice scene is particularly nasty. I've been asking Luke what he wants for Christmas. He doesn't want anything, and he tells me that I got everything I need, good to go. I'm like, that's not helping, Daddy. I got to get you something. He's like, no, I'm good. So I don't know what I'm going to get him.
No, that's when you get him literally nothing.
Well,
and see what he does.
But I'm not going to do that to my son. I'd feel like a piece of garbage.
You don't actually get him nothing, but you let him believe that for the first 10 minutes or so.
Yep. He's not into the consoles at all, Josh. He plays Roblox. He likes City of Heroes. He likes
Minecraft.
Not really.
He's out of that.
He wasn't into Minecraft that long. He's into his Switch. There's a new game out with Mario and Luigi, some kind of
role.
And I asked him, like, what about this game? He was like, nah. And I'm like, really? You don't even want this for Christmas? He goes, well. So maybe I'll just get him that. That's as close as I've got is to get him something. That's yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
You know what I want for Christmas?
Don't care. No, go ahead. I'm kidding.
Wow, you just took the steam out of that joke. Never mind. He does play. He loves Chaos, Josh. That's one of his favorite games.
Oh man,
he's a big. Me and him are both Chaos guys. So yeah, we does
get him a Spectrum. That'd be awesome.
The new Spectrum. We're gonna talk about that on Art Sinclair.
I would hope so.
It looks pretty tight. Anybody in here got? We don't have a huge crowd in here right now, but does anyone in here have? Did anybody get the Spectrum? That's out right now. It just came out this week. Do you know anything about what I'm talking about? So you've seen these.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I obviously do not own one.
Yeah. After getting the thing scoops it over, I feel like getting that would be redundant. You know, so I would stick with what I got, but you know, it looks good. You don't like, and so I forgot you hate those guys. It's funny. I talked to some insiders in the ZX community after some people told me that everybody hated them, and like the insiders, there's one insider I talked to who said he knew a guy on his team that hated them because some guy there had hosed him on a deal like 50 years ago or whatever. But everyone else I talked to, he said everyone else was cool
Yeah,
with those
you went
guys.
over that.
You know, so it's hard to say. What's up, Arcade Ages? How's it going, man? Oh yeah, well done. What's wrong with it, dude? 3,000. Those are nice ones. They're good looking too. Yeah, that's nice stuff. It's always good to get a new person in the zone there.
Remember when we briefly owned a Amiga 4000?
You're really having trouble with the words today. I do remember that. It was a Amiga 4000
I
T.
said
Oh,
4000.
I'm sorry, I misheard you. My ears are like your mouth.
Kidding. Maybe that's the problem.
Oh, geez. Hey, listen. As always, our good buddy Frank at RetroRewind.ca. He will recap the crap out of that thing. Oh, outstanding! I'm sure Adam was pleased that his computer club has been a massive success down there, up there in Michigan.
That's super awesome.
I wish ours was successful. It's not so good. Not so good.
Who knew only meeting twice a year would have a detrimental effect?
He's doing better, Josh. He was in the stream Friday for the free DOS thing, so he's doing. But yeah, I bet it was. So he must be doing better. You know, he had a rough that floods really hosed him. You know, but hey, what are you gonna do? Canadian floods, not good. Not good anywhere, really.
Say, who's like, yeah, August Venice, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. We could use some more water on the river. That's about the only thing I can think of.
I'm done with the rain. It's been 4 days of rain.
It didn't hardly rain though. It just kind of sprinkled or
No,
pitter pattered.
You were not here, obviously.
No, I wasn't here. Oh, was it? Okay, well, good.
Not today. Over the last 4 days, though.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yeah. Well, you know you're done with my banter now. It's time to go.
I was done with your banner.
Hey, before you start, everybody in chat, do we sound solid? Can you hear the heater on? This we need to ask him because you tinkered with the sound settings. You know, so I
fixed it to perfection.
You know, when you have your big anniversary, you don't want to start the fresh new stream by sounding like Mickey Mouse or something.
Know, kind of a throwback.
No, it's ARG.
It'd be like a throwback.
Thank you, fellas. All right, very good. Thank you.
All right.
I don't know what that means, Picard. Bite. All right, give me turn the heater.
You right there. Bam.
Give me turn the heater off.
Okay. You whining about being cold. All right. Gonna go black, and then we're gonna go back.
There was 1 week of niceness. Now it's back to being a jerk.
Absolutely.
We got it going. With the spin of the wheel, we'll uncover our fate and stream it to you all one take. We tend to be loud and we fight quite a bit, but it's an unscripted show, so you get what you get. If we stop to right now and we just walked away, we'd be back here next week, cause we just can't wait to play.
Hello, everyone. We've teleported in. Welcome to another edition of ARG Presents. I'm your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo Aaron. And I'm joined by a man this week who's known as the Universal Jerkbag. Please give it up for the Brent.
At least in Universal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's better than worldwide.
Yeah, I suppose so. And speaking of Universal.
Oh, that's your segue?
That's it. We spun the wheel. We made the deal last week, Brent.
Yes.
In a special double up of ARG Presents. And this week, we'll be looking at the arcade games of Universal Entertainment.
Yes.
This is a company that really is, it's funny, when we looked into them, I thought they were more expansive in their library than they really were. They had some games.
It's fair.
Yeah. But I mean, really, if you look at Universal's lineup, there are 2 or 3 big highlights, and then one ultra bomb that took care. That really they rode the coattails of. I mean, bomb in a good way this time. And so we're gonna talk about it. did you know much? Like when I say Universal Entertainment,
Yeah.
what do you think of arcade was? What's the first thing that
Mr.
pops into your mind? Sure,
Yeah.
sure it is because that's the King Dong.
Well, it is, but it's also their mascot for
Yeah,
all intents and purposes. Uh, they had big hits before that,
sure.
but that was certainly something you could hang your hat on.
You know, the funny thing about Universal is, so you're right. I think of Mr. Do myself every time, but Universal's library stretches back to the late 70s.
Yeah.
And including a few games from that era that were very popular. And they had some games that would surprise you. I mean, if I'm honest. So,
They were very varied.
yeah, they sure were. And
Although the beginning of their lifespan was a whole lot of yoinky takey.
yeah, and the funny thing is they're still around, which is weird. So these guys were found.
Well,
Yeah, they are,
I mean, sort
but
of.
not in the arcade
Yeah.
area. These guys were found in Japan on December 2nd, 1969. So way back. And early on, of course, you're right. This was sort of a distributing company early on. And they didn't really get into, like I said, they didn't really get in the arcade portion of their business until '77 with a game, their first offering called Scratch, which was a straight up breakout clone. But guess what? Why not rip off the people that ripped other people off? That's what I say. And this I'd never heard, but Scratch, that was the third highest earning arcade game in Japan of 1977. Now, granted, it's not like there were a million games out, but there were some games.
Yeah.
And this game, this breakout clone, was third, so they were out of the gate hot. You know,
and that's the kind of beginning that makes you go, "Oh, okay, there's some money in this."
yeah. And if you look at their early offerings, it's like, let's see, someone at Universal went to the arcade and was like, let's see, we got Breakout, Space Invaders.
Yeah,
Okay,
they were very yoinky.
let's rip off these things. Oh, card game, let's rip that off.
Yeah.
And so their early games, in true Coco fashion, were basically cloned.
And really, clone might be overstating how yoinky grabby they were.
Yeah, for example, Cosmic Monsters in '78 was a Space Invaders clone, and it became the sixth highest earning arcade game that same year, '78. So far, they're 2 for 2, both of which they ripped off to another company.
Yep.
So you can't keep your business going that way, and so they eventually they had to branch. Well, I mean, you shouldn't, and so they decided they ended up making their own sort of they made their own games that were less cloney, I guess. We're going to talk about one of their biggest games later on in the show, so I'm going to kind of skip over that one. But one of their huge hits, and this is probably another game that's synonymous with Universal, was Ladybug.
Yes.
1981's Ladybug, which was a
female protagonist in a video game. If you look at it that way. Yep.
Ladybug, a popular game. It was a popular console cartridge.
Mhm.
I remember it was a real big hit on the ColecoVision. It also got cloned on on all the 8-bits and whatnot. And it has its audience. I believe, did we play Ladybug on this show? I think we did.
Yeah. I like Ladybug. I think it's a good game. I think it's a real good game.
And then they moved on in '82 to what would be their biggest hit series of games. And in '82, they released Mr. Do. Mr. Do was hugely popular and was their biggest selling game, probably. I'm sure it's their biggest selling game in the U.S. Mr. Do you saw everywhere. And it spawned several sequels, which included Mr. Do's Castle, which is one of my favorites. Mr. Do's Wild Ride, which, as far as I know, is nobody's favorite. And Do Run Run, which is one of Boat's favorites. So when you say Universal, the Do games come to mind. Do you have a preference on which one of those you like the most?
Mr. Do, the original.
Mhm.
This really is another way of saying, look what you can do when you franchise a mascot.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't the first mascot by any stretch of the imagination, but Universal had been they did a long segment of Cosmic games.
Yeah.
But really, that was just in name only. There was nothing that necessarily tied them together. This was their first mascot that they did anything with from game to game.
Yeah.
And I think that really helped its popularity.
Yeah, I agree. And so, excuse me. So here's something a lot of people don't know. So in the early '80s, what was the big driver in a lot of areas? It was Laserdisc.
Yeah.
And Universal decided to jump into Laserdisc full bore. Okay, which I didn't notice till I read this. They developed a Laserdisc game system called the Universal System One. This I'd never heard. Okay, because the one game I knew about that was released on the Laser One system, the System One, was Super Don Quixote.
Yes.
Now we never saw this ever in the arcade.
No. Mm-mm.
But when the Daphne emulator came out, and even before that, I'd read about it on a Dragon's Lair website. Super Don Quixote is a pretty. I mean, if you look at the Laser family, there's nothing wrong with it. It's what you would expect from a Laserdisc game. They even had a couple car games that were Laserdisc games, but their plan was to release a new laser game every 6 months.
Impossible.
Well, they were going to do it because they had the system that could do it. They thought, okay, we've got a system in play that can do it. So they never released another one. But get this, in an ironic twist, they were working on an unreleased laser game that was about Mr. Do. So there was a Mr. Do Laserdisc game.
And
I've got no idea I've never seen footage of it. I looked around, I couldn't find anything. I would love to have seen that.
The expense in that had to have been off the charts. I mean, because now you're doing your own animation.
Yeah.
It's a whole different studio. Oh,
yeah.
I'd love to see it. I think it could be a lot of fun, but.
And the funny thing is, Super Don Quixote was near the end of their releases in the arcade.
Yes.
They had an unreleased game that never came out. That they worked on after that, but they didn't do much after Super Don Quixote. And I guess I don't know exactly why they stopped, but ultimately they ended up becoming. They moved into the pachinko and slot area, and they were in America. They were putting stuff out. They worked on casino machine games in Nevada, Mississippi, and New Jersey. So at the time, those were really the only places that were really doing gambling. So there was Atlantic City, Las Vegas. Did you ever play any of their offerings in them?
No, and I was kind of surprised they Konami before Konami did.
Yeah,
because that's another one that slotted everything up and pachinkoed it. Although I don't think they really pulled their properties into their gambling stuff, did they, or do you know? Was there a Mr. Do pachinko machine out there?
None. I didn't look too deeply into it, but there's none. If you think about it, that wouldn't be the worst idea.
Well, no, except you're killing your legacy.
Well, I mean, they also like money. If you've got the width and breadth of the Universal game library, what are you going to pull out of it to use in a pachinko or slot machine? Your only choices are probably going to be Mr. Do or maybe Ladybug. I'd say that's about it, wouldn't you?
And Ladybug, you'd have to use the hot cabinet art, and no one would know what it was.
And the hot cabinet art's hot, so I do like that. Did you find anything on that?
Just a quick glance does not seem to show anything where they're like, hey, Mr. Do and a slot machine.
Yeah. Anyway, at the end of the day, they had a long list of games. And one thing I want to mention about some of these, and we're not going to go over all the games, but they did have some games that I thought were quite good. And one of them I want to mention was a game I used to play back in the day called Cosmic Avenger, which was a cool space game, and it had awesome cabinet art on it as well. And one thing, a lot of their games had really good cabinet art.
Excellent cabinet.
Which is funny because a lot of them had crappy cabinet art. It's funny. They really were all over the map in that. But that one, I was on there's a Universal fandom Facebook page, and all the guys on there have all these really awesome looking cabinets that they put together. Some of them they've augmented with better art, but I mean they're absolutely gorgeous. If you get a chance to go on there. But I definitely wanted to mention that one. That game was I was a big fan of Cosmic Avenger back in the day. They had another game I had played called Kick Rider And they had a few
Yep,
soccer
Chick was
games.
real good.
And then they had a game I think we may have played at some point. I'm not sure. I'll take that back. I don't know if we ever played this one or not. It's another soccer game. It sounds familiar to me. It's called American Soccer. It seems like we played that one. Maybe not.
Nothing I recall.
So anyway, we had a comfortable amount of games to look through, to pick a couple winners here. And I don't know how you approach this, but I thought to myself, because we haven't played all the Do games. In fact, I looked. I don't think we've played any Do games on this show. Not
Really?
even Mr. Do. Yeah. And so, but everyone sort of knows those games.
Right.
And I thought I'm going to challenge myself this week to go into their catalog and find something that I'm not familiar with. I don't know how did you approach it?
Well, I definitely said I'm not going to do a Mr. Do game.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to find a game with some amount of interesting trivia or controversy.
Yeah.
And I found it incredibly quickly.
Do you want to go ahead and start the dance then, Brent?
I will start the dance.
All right, get in
Aaron.
there. Dance, sucker.
I went with their first original idea, Space Panic.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron, Space Panic, obviously by Universal, in the lovely year of 1980. Did you know, Aaron, that this is credited as being the first platformer?
Yes, I have heard that because it has ladders and
Right.
platforms in it.
In
Yeah.
fact, they weren't going to call the genre a platform game. They were going to call it a ladder game.
Yeah.
But I guess cooler heads prevailed because that's stupid.
That is stupid.
This is also credited as the first digging game, which is not really true. There is a game that was only released in Japan. It's Alien, blah, blah, blah. It's Alien and then
Yeah.
some Japanese word I can never hope to pronounce.
Japanese for digging.
But yes, but the difference in that is it's a top-down perspective, and when you dig, it draws a circle where you've obviously dug a hole,
Yeah.
but you're not really manipulating your environment. I mean, you are, but
So you're not really digging.
well, I mean, you are. You're opening a hole, and you want things to fall into it so you can cover it back up. But I feel like when you did it in Space Panic, you were actually changing the platforms where you could fall into them or you could cover them back up. And changing your environment in a video game outside of things like shooting the protective domes and like Space Invaders, there's not a whole lot of games that have you doing things like that where the player manipulates the environment that he's actively taking part in.
Sure.
So first digging game, no. First platform game, yes. And really all that means is there was multiple platforms that your player could go on. For those that don't know and are not watching at home, Space Panic has you on a multi-platform single stage static screen in the vertical orientation where you have 7 platforms with ladders randomly spaced around the board that you can climb up and down. And your objective is to dig holes and trap aliens inside the holes that you dig. And once they fall in the hole, you have to then go back over and whack them with your shovel until you shove them through the hole so that they fall on the platform below, die, and you get your points.
You sort of pummel them with the shovel.
You absolutely do.
It's like you don't just whack them once.
No.
You have to beat them
You-
down
you-
into the dirt.
Yes.
You hate aliens in this game. You hate them.
The way that you are ramping up in difficulty is in the first few stages, you only have to drop the aliens down one level for them to die. In later levels, some aliens have to go through 2 platforms, and some have to go through 3 platforms.
Yeah, those are the levels you'll never reach. I want to mention that.
And this is really, I'm going to throw some of my cards on the table here.
Yeah, get them in there.
I like Space Panic for about 2 plays, and then I never want to touch it for years.
It makes you angry.
It makes you incredibly angry. The game is very, very difficult. If you are watching home, I just realized the guy that we're watching is cheating.
Yeah,
He's got on
I noticed that.
a no touchy die.
It's not that easy in real life. That's
The
for
amount
sure.
of aliens that are on the screen at one time is tremendous.
Yeah.
There are tons of them. And just because an alien falls in a hole that you've dug, that doesn't mean he's going to stay in there forever. About 15 seconds later, he'll actually climb out of the hole,
Yeah, they sort
fill
of
it back in,
yeah.
and then come get you
They
again.
sort of level up the hole, like
Yes.
they're basically somehow depositing dirt. I just assume they're using a little tentacles to go like,
Yeah,
and put the dirt in back in.
although when we say dirt, the platforms are made out of bricks, so
That was a weird design choice.
it's a very strong shovel. That's all we
In
can
fact,
say.
the only thing in this game that looks like it can be dug in is the bottom where you can't
Which you
dig.
can't dig in. That's right. Space Panic was a huge hit for Universal in Japan.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, we got one here." I mean, it was like top 3 in the 1980s in Japan. So they thought, "Man, get this over to America right now. It's time to really rake in the big money."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Here, America, Space Panic." And America flipped them the bird, dropped their pants, mooned them, and then clucked like a chicken for a while.
Wow. We're jerks.
It was a colossal failure in the States. And remember, Aaron, how Space Panic or not Universal stole a lot of their first ideas.
Yeah.
Kind of cherry picked. Well, we're going to do this breakout clone. We're
Yeah.
going to do the Space Panic. Well, the shoe was put on the other foot when Apple released Apple Panic, a straight up, basically 1-to-1 remake outside of the aliens looking different, and it killed. It was so high in the selling charts that not only was it the best for 1 year, but it stayed in the top 10 for 3 years running.
Yeah.
Apple Panic, for whatever reason, probably because, so few games on the Apple, but Apple Panic was a tremendous hit when Space Panic was universally panned here in America. I always thought that was very odd.
It's funny because I did see this in the arcade back in the day, believe it or not.
Mhm.
Yes, I was around in 1980 in the arcade. And I did play it once. I don't know if I ever played it again because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But there was the place I played it the most was on the Coco. Because the Coco had, I think it was called Color Panic. And it was a real good clone. They did a real good job on it, as I recall. It's been a while since I played it. We should put that on the list.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that I guess when this is a kind of a complicated situation, gameplay-wise, to tackle in the arcade. Because, sure, they can tell you what you need to do, but actually doing the task, digging the hole, the enemy falling in, then you have to fill it back up. That's a lot of steps if you don't already know going in what you need to do.
Plus, you could get instantly killed.
Well, yes.
And something else.
There was a timer.
I can see, because your oxygen levels. I can see why this was a big hit in Japan. Because we know from our past experiences that Load Runner was a huge hit in Japan.
Yep.
They loved it. And this is in the same ilk, or vice versa. Load Runner is in the same ilk as this, the same ballpark. And so I can see this is like the thinking man's action game. But in America, we don't like to think. We just want the action.
Well, and this is said to have inspired Load Runner.
No kidding.
And yeah, Load Runner, obviously, huge game when it came out.
Yeah.
But this game, I think, was too complex for the time and way too hard for the American audience. Like we said, not only do you have to trap aliens, and when the game starts, there are 7 aliens that you have to tend with. You also have your digging animation is four digs to actually make a hole, which takes 3 or 4 seconds before it actually completes a hole, which is very difficult. It's hard to time that. Then you have to dig it back in, and you've got a timer that's continuously counting down that they call as your oxygen, and you can't refill it. There's no getting more oxygen. It's just this is how long you have to complete the level. Tremendously difficult game.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron, you said you played this some in the arcade.
Yeah.
Did you
like
it?
Once at least. Well, in the arcade, no. I don't remember. I can't sit here and tell you my exact thoughts, but I know what young A was. And my goal in the old days was to take the 2 or 3 measly quarters that Mom would give me in the store or wherever and make them last as long as possible. And that meant games like Space Panic did not get multiple plays.
Yes.
Because it was too hard. But I did play Color Panic, which is the exact same game on a Coco. So I'm pretty in with the game. This is a funny game because and it's one of those games where you can think you may have an idea of what you're doing and just go out there and get slaughtered. But you can get into a nice rhythm in this game once you figure out how I could. I played this a lot this week on the computer because it's a simple game, and and you can run through about 1,000,000 games in like 10 minutes, you go over and over and over. So
Yeah.
I ran up through a bunch of games this week, and I will say I did better at this game than I've ever done because you've got one button for shovel, one button for pound down with the shovel. And so what I was on the early levels, for me, the easiest thing to do was to go and camp out in the spot. Now this doesn't work on the later levels, but these aliens are morons.
They are
And
pretty dumb.
eventually they'll stagger into your holes, and you put a hole on each side of you. And when they come in, that's when the beating begins. Whack, you whack them down, and you just keep doing that over and over until they're all dead. You can get away with that on the first two
Two
levels.
levels, yeah.
Then you get to the third level, they're not buying what you so sometimes they just won't show up either.
Yeah.
And that's where they cunningly put in the oxygen supply because otherwise you could just put holes around you and just never leave and just the game would go on forever.
Yes.
So they've got to put in a time limit, and it does come into play more in the later levels.
Absolutely.
I think the farthest I got this week was 2, 3, 4. 4. Yeah, 4. So yeah, well, good. I don't feel as dumb if that's where you got. But I mean, the thing is, when I had just gotten back into it, I just started back right away. I was getting insta killed left and right because I didn't get the rhythm. And in a lot of games that have ladders, there's an element where you have to learn how they want you to climb the ladders.
Yes, how to get on.
This is the same thing. How do you get up there? Where can I dig a hole? Because you can't dig one right on top of the ladder. And you can't pound the sucker down right on top of the ladder. You got to give yourself some space.
Yeah.
And it also depends on where they put the ladders in the level. Where you're going to make your stand. Where am I going to do this stuff? What happens and as you go on through the game, more aliens come out. And so if there's 2 aliens coming at you and you've got one hole, one alien goes in the hole and the other one just keeps on trucking.
Well,
You're bummed.
It waits for you. As
Yeah.
soon as you fill that hole, it just runs across and eats you.
So you've got to be careful with your strategy. So it's funny. I enjoyed this week probably more than I've ever enjoyed the arcade version. The Coco version I used to play, I enjoyed it okay. I mean, this isn't my favorite game because by the time this game came out, it had sort of been spoiled by games like Donkey Kong. Had a jumping element to them, where this game has no jumping, no shooting, none of that stuff. That's what makes it hard. It's sort of a foreign game to us because all you've got's the shovel. I'm just saying, you got when you it's one thing if you're in 1980 and you've never played a platformer.
I understand, yeah.
But when you've played Donkey Kong and games like that, and all of a sudden you're going backwards, it's a weird feeling. Where's my gun? Why can't I jump?
Yeah, because you dig a hole and then you can fall through your own hole.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work as well as you think it would.
Are you a Load Runner guy?
No.
See, I'm not the biggest fan of Load Runner either. Do you like this more or less than Load Runner?
A Space Panic?
Yeah.
Way less.
Yeah, so you like Load Runner more, and you hate Load Runner.
Load Runner is almost a puzzle game.
Well, yeah.
It's an action puzzle. This is action flat.
To me, I enjoy this more than Load Runner because I don't like to have to think as much as I have to think in Load Runner.
No, and it's not really Space Panic's fault. I think the first 3 levels of this game are fun.
Yeah.
But as soon as you have to start dropping them through multiple holes, that loses the fun.
Well, it's too hard. That is real tough.
Yeah.
Because the timing on that and a little luck has to be involved.
Yeah. And I don't blame the game because I think that's a very interesting concept. And there's ways to get around it, right? You can trap a smaller alien and drop him onto one that you would have to go through multiple holes, and that will kill both of them.
Right. How many times did you pull that off?
Well, I'm not saying it's something you can do on the regular. But the other problem I have with this is lining up the holes can sometimes be difficult. I mean, there are segments where you can dig a hole. Like if you dig a hole and you're a little bit to the left or to the right, it's actually going to snap you in place. But the variations of places you can dig are a lot more than you think. So you can dig a hole in one level and go down and try to dig it in the exact same spot, be it a half a click off, and then you're screwed. Because the aliens give you no time to breathe in this.
Yeah.
They are on you in an instant, and if you don't have a plan right from the beginning, you're going to die.
It's sometimes they feel like they're just idiots, and sometimes they come at you like they're
Well,
programmed to kill. It's like the ghost of Pac-Man.
yeah. I think some of them are designed to stay away, and some of them are just come at you
Yeah.
continuously.
But I mean, just to finish my thoughts on it, this isn't a game you're going to sit around. I mean, it might be a game you could really binge, but it's probably not. But it's
Yeah.
it's definitely one you should probably have a go at, because if you consider when it was made and what came after it, what came before it, it's an important game, and it's not like it's a game that's just an unplayable mess. It's okay. It's an okay game.
I agree. From a historic standpoint, it's something you should play.
Yeah.
However, do I think that platform and ladder games would have never existed if Space Panic didn't exist? No. It was a foregone conclusion. Games like this were going to happen.
Yeah.
It just happened to make it to market first.
But I think I think there's fun to be had. I don't think it's like like you're gonna play. Come on, it's pretty fun. It's not bad.
I
Once you get into the groove, you played to level 4. That's pretty good.
I accept that you can have fun with this, but
That's all I ask.
if you overstay your welcome, you are going to hate it.
I will
going to
not
hate
fight
it.
you on that.
I did not try to find pricing on this, considering it was an arcade game, and those things are very wildly.
They're idiotically priced. Even this one's priced at too expensive.
But the Apple Panic,
Yeah.
also the Coleco version of this, they're all readily available.
And I own the Coleco version of this.
Yeah.
It's quite good. This is an easy game to port too.
Oh, absolutely. Because say your system can't handle 7 layers, you do 5 layers or 4 layers. At 4 levels, you're fine.
Yeah, I agree. I was pleasantly surprised that we actually got a Discord review on this.
Oh, did we now?
Of course, guess who it's from?
I'm going to have to say it's from Mr. Pajako himself.
Correctamundo. Pajako chimes in. Space Panic, a better name for this game, could not have been created except maybe Get on the Bleeping Ladder. But it isn't nearly as catchy. I knew this game was Monsters. Yes, it's a very popular and famous game of the BBC Micro Monsters for many years. And I only happened to stumble across Space Panic while perusing my backups and MAME ROMs to check that they were still working, wink. I never saw this game in the arcade growing up. He's probably too young for that. Now being an early arcade game, there isn't much said about this other than it's a tough old game. And for me, the only strategy is to get the level finished as quickly as possible, as the rest of the game is, as the title says, panic-inducing.
Yes.
Even though this is 1980, it has some fun touches, like your guy running slow and being red-faced when you're running low on oxygen, and tougher aliens just laughing at you if you don't dig holes in time to kill them. This predates Donkey Kong by a little bit, several years actually, and there were This predates Donkey Kong by a little bit, and there are, as someone online pointed out, the roots of Lode Runner in Space Panic. So while it isn't up there as an arcade legend, it's still a fun game in its own right, and maybe it'll inspire other games. Not one of my favorites. I still prefer Monsters on the Beeb, but I would certainly stick a credit or two if I found one of these in the arcade. 7 out of 10. Now, I think I've tried Monsters on the Beeb. I remember hearing a lot about it when we were doing some Beeb stuff back in the day. So I know that was a pretty popular title in there.
I would say if it's basically this, I mean, a lot of systems had a basically this.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's an easy game. It's an easy game to do, but I think it's an okay game. A basic but difficult game, but kind of fun.
Definitely difficult. All right, Aaron, that's what I brought from the Universal Library. What did you have in store?
I looked at, actually, by the way, Space Panic was something I thought about early, because it is a pivotal title, I think. But I wanted to try something different. And so I looked around to see what on the list. It's funny looking over the Universal list. I'm not rag on Universal, but I wasn't overly impressed with a lot of their titles, aside from the ones I knew. And I thought about a couple, but I saw one, and the name hit me. I'm like, what is this? And it was a game called Mrs. Dynamite. Dynamite! And this was a game that was never released. Okay, so this is an unreleased ROM that does exist. The programmer on this isn't listed, but I would guess a lot of the early Universal games were done by a guy named Toshi Ueda. And amongst the games he did was, guess what? Ladybug, Mr. Do, the Bonk series. So this guy had a lot of jack. He
Sure.
did a lot of the early games. He may have done. He may have been the guy that did Load Runner, kind of thing, or not Load Runner, but Space Panic. This was scheduled to be released in '82, and this is a funny bird right here. Because when I got looked into this and got a little bit deeper into it, it really had a lot of interesting things to say. So, again, this was an unreleased game, and up until a few years ago, the only thing we knew about this game was there was a flyer for it, which we'll get back to the arcade flyer for it.
Okay.
But it was literally dumped like just in the past 5 years,
Yes,
5 or 6
it's
years.
been recently found.
So I was nosing around on the Universal Arcade fans. I want to give these guys full credit on the Universal Arcade fans Facebook page, and I came across a post on there. This fella writes, he says, "So Mrs. Dynamite." This is Patrick Samuel, by the way, to credit this fella. I'm going to read this verbatim. He said, "In 2017, I thought we would never find Miss Dynamite, and all we had were the flyers as evidence of its existence. Even the president of Universal denied its existence. It was surely vaporware. So I learned how to program on an 8-bit computer and spent 4 months writing my own Mrs. Dynamite." So this guy wrote his own game sight unseen for a computer. All right. Anyway, this year, as of the writing of this, uh, Marco Kirstens was able to buy a board that they'd found in a cocktail machine in Canada. Okay. So they found this game in a cocktail cabinet in Canada. That's all I know about that. They were able to safely dump the ROMs and get it included in the MAME set. So it actually almost 40 years later, they were able to get this thing out there.
Crazy.
The funny thing is, he says his homemade version was actually pretty close to this. He also says the board is a 2-board stack like Ladybug. We've had plenty of games that were 2-board stacks. And he even gives the number for this game. So you had a game that no one knew that if it existed or not. It's a maze. It's a sort of a labyrinthine maze game with a twist. It's one player with 2-player hot seat. It's got one button and one 4-way joystick. Okay, it's all you need in this one. Now I want to talk about the arcade flyer.
And it is a vert.
It is a vertical. Thank you. So if you look at the arcade flyer on this, and it's out there, on the front it just says Miss Dynamite, and it's got a thing, and then on the back it says Miss Dynamite fights alone. Okay, that's her catchphrase, and it's got a picture of the game board, and the picture of the game board does not match the ROMs. All right, for example, and this is why I have a feeling that this game was written by the same fellow that did Mr. Do. Okay. In the flyer game screen, there are cherries all over the place. All right. There are also instead of barrels which appear in the game, there are rocks. So you've got entirely different elements that don't appear in the game. Okay. And the scoring is different, and also the characters don't look quite the same. Okay. So you've got some different stuff going on with the game. So given the fact it's a maze game, it's got cherries, it's got a cut scene, just like Mr. Do does. This game, I would wager that Kyotoshi Ueda did this one as well. That's just my guess. Maybe we'll never find out. So let's talk about the game proper. Again, as Brent mentioned, this is a vertical game where you play the titular Mrs. Dynamite, not Miss Dynamite. This chick's married.
Yeah.
I guess Mr. Dynamite was to appear later, but it does say Mrs. Dynamite fights alone, so maybe she's a widower. But I guess when you're Dynamite family, that probably happens a lot. So Mrs. Dynamite is a character who this game starts in a maze, and when the game starts, at the top there's like a little roll call of bad guys. They blink, and then as they blink, they disappear and then appear on the game maze. So that way you know how many guys you're fighting. Mrs. Dynamite's a character who runs around a maze. And in the maze, you have a few different things. You've got monsters, obviously. You've also got barrels. and you've also got sticks of dynamite. Okay, you have to grab sticks of dynamite. When you grab them, your dynamite inventory appears at the top of the screen. And then you can run around the maze and you can use your button to drop a stick of dynamite. And the goal of the game is to blow up all the bad guys with dynamite.
And not throw, drop, as
Right.
in right where you're standing.
They'll drop and run. Okay. And so you can get multiple stacks of dynamite. I think you can have a total of 6. And Mrs. Dynamite runs around, she'll drop a stick of dynamite, and you got to run away, because if you don't, it'll blow up. And you don't get this isn't like you don't get a Bomberman like amount of time to run. This is the dynamite goes off quick.
She's lighting it with a quick fuse.
Right. And so when you kill a guy, that's great. But what you want to do is kill multiple guys. That's even better. And I believe it's if you kill 3 guys at once, you'll get it's just not easy to do, but you can get extra man doing that. Now, I mentioned there are barrels in this. In the flyer, they're more rock-like, but it's hard to make out. They could just be the side because the barrels have a different look to the side than they do to the front.
It's definitely barrels.
Right, because they roll like barrels, but in the flyer, they look more like rocks. The barrels in this, there is speculation that the barrel section of this game isn't quite done. And the reason that's speculated is when the bad guy, it could be done. That's just the way they wanted it.
Yeah.
And when the bad guys can get behind these barrels and they roll out a barrel, but it's not a barrel of fun, it's a barrel of pain. Because they'll roll these barrels all over the place, all around corners, everything, and they'll roll them at you. And if you get hit by a barrel, you're done. All right, you're dead. You can nudge barrels when you have to go up to them and sort of hit them a couple times, and they'll go, but it doesn't kill the bad guy. And you would think they would make that an element of the game. Don't you think so? Is that why?
No.
Why? Do you have a reason why you think that?
I think that the barrels are there as a weapon for the bad guys.
Well, it worked, but they need more? There's so many of them. So this game is a frantic race around this maze. The barrels and the thing is, the way the mazes are set up is there are many places where you can roll barrels all the way across the screen. So they can just launch barrels at you from across the screen from a guy you didn't even see that could hit you. Once you have wiped out all the monsters, the game the round win. Now, if you've got one monster left, and this is sort of like Dig Dug, he'll try to leave. He'll leave. Now, if you are, and you can use up all your dynamite. So at certain points, you're going to be on the screen, and you're out of dynamite, and there's a guy left. Well, that's when a countdown starts for the super dynamite. If the super dynamite is in play, and it'll say at the top of the screen, super dynamite, that dynamite has a bigger kill radius than regular dynamite. And then hopefully you can use that to kill the bad guy. And otherwise, he just leaves and the round ends. After you run through about 3 of these rounds, you get a wacky Mrs. Dynamite cutscene.
Every 5.
Is it 5? And so when this happens, it tells you how good I am at this game. When that happens, there's some monsters in the tree. She goes rolling in with dynamite and blows some of them up. That's one of the things I saw.
Well, it's the only thing.
Yeah, I didn't know if it ever changed. But the cutscenes are very Mr. Do-like. If you'll recall, when you get a diamond or an extra man of Mr. Do, although those are better, don't get me wrong. These cutscenes, I don't know if I'd take the stick of dynamite and just toss it up in the air. That's like a bad idea. But that's the one that...
From the cutscene, it almost looks like it backfires on Mrs. Dynamite.
Yeah, it does, because it doesn't look like the dynamite explodes, but a monster falls out of the tree. This game is, I would say this game's every bit as difficult as Space Panic. In fact, I got further in Space Panic than I did this game. This is one tough game. And every round where the new round starts up and they start counting down those monsters, there's more and more. And the monsters they don't just come at you, but they're devious.
Yeah.
They will take these barrels all through that maze. It's amazing to me that if this is the way they meant the game to be, that they wouldn't give you the same access to the barrels as the bad guys.
The bad guys don't get to throw dynamite.
Well, they should pick it up, because you have to pick it up. I mean, the bad guys outnumber you like 6, 7, 8, 10 to 1. If you play 2 players, it's just a hot seat endeavor. You're second player, nothing special there. And it just rolls on. I read that this game just eventually it never ends. You just keep playing it forever. I think it just flips over,
Yeah.
but the score does. Um, it's a difficult game, but I'd never heard of it or seen it. And the fact that it's an unreleased game made me wonder, why was this unreleased? If assuming that it's a finished game and it was in a ROM set and someone in Canada had it in a cocktail machine,
Mhm.
God knows where it came from. Like, why would you not release this as a game? And the only answer I could come up with was they didn't think it would be a hit or make any money. And now, having played a lot of the Universal games, I think there's potential in this game. I like the character. I like the idea that it's a girl character. This predates Bomberman by a good while, so the
Mhm.
concept was fresh of using explosives to kill bad guy. It's a fresh concept that had not been plucked. So, what do you think? Would this have made a decent release, or did they do the right thing?
Well, I think that it was sent to test locations and then did not test well, and that's why they didn't sell it. I'm going to blow your mind a little bit, Aaron.
Get into it.
Do you think, because you compared this to Bomberman,
Right. Well, I mean,
you-
there's a natural comparison. A maze game where you drop explosives on band monsters.
you
Yeah.
know, you noted this was by the Ladybug guy. You know what this game reminds me of?
What?
Pingo.
Well, there's a little Pingo in there too. Except if the bad guys could throw the ice and you couldn't, they'd be like Pingo.
Well, here's the thing, because I think you kind of misdescribed some of the things that are going on here.
All right.
If a monster is pushing a barrel, he has to actually shove the barrel
Yes.
to kill you with it. If the barrel is just sitting on the stage, you can actually roll the barrel around.
Yes.
And the barrel will automatically take corners. You know, if you come up to a junction, that would just be dead end. So you can actually take their weapons and roll them like all in one corner.
Yeah.
Which that was my number one strategy.
That was the common strategy that I read about, so you could get the big groups. Yeah.
Thing number two that you didn't mention.
I did mention that, by the way.
No, you didn't.
I did.
If you don't do anything for long enough, if the stage goes on for long enough, the monsters will congregate in the center of the screen.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think I ever had that happen.
And they will, like, say you've got 6 monsters, right?
Yeah.
They'll go 1, 2, 3, and then have a blank area, and then 1, 2, 3. Think of it like a grid.
Okay.
So say monsters 1, 2, and 6 get there early. They will just stand in place and just kind of jog.
Okay.
While the other monsters get there until it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're all there.
Yeah.
And that's when you strike. That is when you pound them, get that extra man.
Really?
I never killed a group that I did not get an extra man unless I was just cleaning up the last 1 or 2.
So what were you? So your strategy was just to roll around the maze and leave all those guys alive. How did you survive
Yes.
that long?
I took all the barrels and
Yeah.
I rolled them to the corners. I made an effort to get the barrels out of the way as much as possible, and then I just sat. They will eventually find you. They will eventually come to where you're at. But if you just don't move, they will try to go and get the barrels, which takes a little bit of time. And then if you've got all the barrels clumped up, when they shove the barrels will collide into each other, and then they have to get the barrel that they send up screen. So that, and all that time, the internal timer is counting.
Yeah.
And as soon as the internal timer gets to where they need to all congregate, they stop what they're doing and they all congregate.
How did you come up with this plan?
And here's the thing. If you let them wait long enough,
Yeah.
so you've got they come to the center, they've got the 6, right? The next place they congregate is at the bottom of the screen. But this time they don't do a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across the bottom.
Yeah.
Not as useful. Now, so I tried to always,
Because you can only get 2 at a time.
right. Well, when they come out of that, though, they usually will try to come to you.
Yeah.
So if you're up a little bit, they'll come up, run through the maze. And if the maze is shaped properly, you can get 2 or 3 or 4 to come your direction and get them that way.
No kidding.
Another thing, when you lay down a bomb or dynamite, it blows up the square that it's in
Yeah.
and 1 square away.
Right.
Now, if there's walls there, it won't go through them. So it will only. So if you do it in a corridor where there's only up and down, only the up and down flames go off. That's very important because you want to try to get 4-way explosions every time you put down a piece of dynamite. When you can fill up on dynamite. When you pick up your first dynamite, you get 3 sticks. Then you get another 3 sticks, and then if you pick up more, you just get bonus points.
Right.
So I would go around and get as many bonus points as I could. And then, bam, extra. And when you get an extra man, so you blow up 3 at one time, it doesn't just play a little tune and give you a man down at the bottom.
Right.
A man spawns, or a woman spawns from the explosion, walks through the maze down to where your life counter is at the bottom of the screen, and then just phases through the wall and becomes an extra.
That is an interesting touch there.
I loved this game.
Really?
Holy cow! I love this game.
You back up for a minute? The barrel strategy. How did you come up with that? Because I went for those barrels like the plague. Because when Mrs. Dynamite runs into them.
There's a
she
pause.
can't just whack them. No. You have to kind of push up against them for a while before they move. And so they scared me. They were shooting those things everywhere. How did you come up with the idea of moving them onto one X?
When I first started playing, I thought, man, this is very Pingo feeling. I'm going to roll these barrels into them. And it didn't work. But I could move the barrels. And then I saw how they were using the barrels as a projectile. And it's really cool because they roll them at one speed. And when they shoot them as a projectile, it's a completely different speed. It's faster.
Yeah.
So it has a visual
That's because they're doing corners and stuff with them.
And it's really visually pleasing for me. Also, when the stage starts and there's a lot of monsters, you run faster than the monsters. When there's only one left, the monster runs faster than you. I guess it's so you can try to get away. So since you're faster than them, it's all about clumping. This game reminds me of Pingo and Miss Pac-Man because you want to clump all those guys together just like you wanted to clump the ghosts together before you get the energy pellet and get all those massive points.
Yeah, that's a great plan. I never thought about that.
When you get an extra man, every single time you kill 3 or more, every single time you can get a lot of men. You are women. I'm sorry, you can get a lot of women.
So, how far into this did you get with that strategy?
I think the farthest I ever got was stage 9.
Oh wow, way farther than me. I had trouble getting the first cutscene.
But I had a lot of times when I would get up to 5 or 6 women, extra lives, and then blow them all, and fail just traumatic, just over and over and over and over and over.
Oh yeah,
and the game can eat you up real quick if you aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, this is a fast-paced game. I think the enemies having the barrels as weapons is so clever. I think that is so fun. I think it's absolutely on purpose. I don't think that it was supposed to be coded a different way. I think that's the way it was meant to be. But I also think that's why this failed on test locations.
Yeah.
Because this would have came out in 1982.
Yeah.
Which is the same year Pingo came out. So if you played this and then you played Pingo or vice versa, you'd be incredibly confused that you can't use the weapons on that. I
was confused about it.
But I love this game. The marquee for this, I was trying to pull up a visual to put on stream.
Yeah,
is beautiful.
Yeah,
and you can only tell it by the flyer, but holy cow, it's nice.
Yeah.
I would love,
and the work that they've got behind the screen in the little area. I mean, this is all custom stuff.
Yes,
the guys that have made, because there are plans up there to make this cabinet.
I would love to make this cabinet. I think that would be such a fun project.
I'm surprised someone like yourself who dabbled in MAME on and off for years haven't ever came across this.
Never played.
I guess because when you were doing that, it wasn't in the list.
This is one of the best games that I've ever played of prototype / unreleased games.
Yeah.
I was so I can't speak highly enough.
The funny thing about this, a lot of it, there was a lot of Mr. Do like elements to this. And
No,
what?
there weren't.
Sure, there were. The monsters looked. I mean, I'm not talking about the
You need
gameplay. I'm talking the
visuals. Okay,
visual.
sure.
And when you got the last couple monsters on the screen, you know what I expected to happen was, remember, and when you play Mr. Do or Mr. Do's Castle, that they would mutate into a deadlier enemy.
Yes.
I can almost see where you're going to put that element in this game and made it work. Now they had their own slant, which is fine. But would you agree with me when I say there's a high probability that the same guy that did the Do's was involved in this one?
What out? Yes.
Yeah.
I think there's at least influence, if
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
nothing else. Something I would have liked to have seen, and they could have taken this sort of out of Ladybug or really Mr. Do, either way.
Yeah.
I wish you could have blown up the barrels. I wish that you could have blown them up with your dynamite, and inside there could have been a chance of getting a letter.
It would have been nice because I will say, I thought to myself, wow, you blowing up 3 of these guys, get you an extra man. That seems like a recipe for disaster because, I mean, someone's going to figure something out. And of course, you did.
Well, it's a high risk, high reward situation.
Yeah. If this is a game that sounds interesting to you, like I said, the ROMs do exist, and you can get them. If you're interested in looking at some of the arcade machines that were made or getting information to make your own arcade machine, there was a guy doing limited runs of the Marquee, and you could probably still get one. Again, I suggest you go over to the Universal Arcade Fans Facebook page. They had a lot of very intelligent guys there that know everything about Universal. We did get, one review of this from Jocko. He writes, and I didn't read this, but I'd wager he had problems with it because I thought it was hard too. While we can argue, and I will, that piracy is preservation, this is one of those cases where you can say 100% that without piracy, this game would have just been lost to time because until a couple of years back, it was. This is a fun and interesting maze game, but by 1982, there were a plethora of them, including Universal's own Ladybug. And I can see that possibly Mrs. Dynamite was an evolution of Ladybug. I can even see some elements of Pingo in there.
Yeah,
but I don't think either one borrowed from the other, though. The game itself is pretty straightforward. Blow up baddies to get to the next level. You can get a handle on this game, and it feels a little disconnected in places like it wasn't quite finished. For example, you can push the barrels, they pass right over the enemies, but the enemies can push the barrels and kill you. That's exactly what I said. However, this has some really fun mechanics, including getting extra life for blowing up 3 monsters at once. So there is a herding strategy to be learned. And then there's a super bomb when you run out of dynamite, and the last baddie can just run away, which is quite amusing. I managed to get to the slightly odd cutscene showing the monsters apparently getting their own back on Mrs. Dynamite. So maybe she is the hero of the story. It's a valid point. This is a little rough around the edges, but give it a blast, and you might be blown away by it. Dynamite, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 on that one from Pajako, and I would agree with that.
Something I want to throw in real quick from the original flyer. It says, when there is a rock in the labyrinth, which turned out to be barrels, Mrs. Dynamite cannot pass it, which in this game,
she can
actually push it.
Yeah.
The monsters try to push the rock to clog the labyrinth or crush Mrs. Dynamite.
Right.
So, from the flyer, taking into account they made some changes on the main board, I never think it was intended for you to be able to use the barrel.
I wish you could use it. That's just me.
Make the game way too easy.
Well, it was hard enough for me. So what did you think about Universal arcade games overall? Did you enjoy looking through them?
I've always liked Universal.
Yeah.
I always think they put out... funny, I've always thought they put out pretty unique things.
Yeah.
I guess not in the beginning after learning a little more about it.
Yeah.
But I think this Mrs. Dynamite is a tremendous game. I put this, and you're not going to agree, but I put this right up there with like a Mr. Do.
Well, I mean, listen, there's more potential in the game given your strategies that I utilize, so I'll withhold judgment. But I do think as a game that was unreleased, I think it's something that should be released, and I'm glad it was kicked out. We appreciate the fellows that brought it down from the Great White North, the Brent. Normally, what would we do right here? It's a little thing called spin the wheel.
Oh, get the wheel theme going.
Well, cancel the wheel theme.
Oh, okay. I'll turn
because we're not going to be spinning the wheel. Tell them why the Brent.
This coming Friday.
Yeah.
At this point,
Give them the date, the Brent.
Sure. The date is.
You don't know it, do you? I'll look.
Yes, I do. It is the 29th.
Yeah.
We will be doing the Thanks for Giving Marathon.
That's right.
Will it go 6 hours? Will it go 8 hours? Will it go 10 hours?
It better go 8 hours because I got to do Amigos directly after it. It's got to go 8 hours exactly.
All right. Well, there goes that element of surprise. 8 hours. Aaron and I are going to just play games, and it's not for any kind of charity. It's not for a telethon to give us money. We want money now. This is simply to say thanks to everyone who has given to us, who's watched our stuff, who's shared it with others, who subscribes to the channels,
watches the live streams, sends in reviews, sends in wheel piece ideas over to ARG Presents at mail.com. Plug, ARG Presents at mail.com.
Or, people who are signed up at the Retro Rotation Patreon.
Yeah.
All this, it's for all those people to just say, we appreciate you, and we want to try to entertain you the day after Thanksgiving here in the U.S. and just some random Friday throughout the rest of the world.
Yeah, myself and the Brent, we host ARG Presents, Art Sinclair, the Coco Show, the Atari ST Show, and I'm also an Amigos, and Brent occasionally gets over there. And so you can expect a little bit of all those things in the marathon, plus a whole lot more. I'm going to crank the mister up in here, and we're going to be at a rocket speed through all sorts of games. There's a lot of gaming possibilities, including some of our old nemesis and some of our old favorites, too. Are we going to play Yeti? Don't know. Are we going to play Shays Maxim? Maybe. Are we going to play
single-player games?
We're going to play Mrs. Dynamite. We're not going to play all double-player games. We're going to play everything. It's going to be a crazy time. We hope you will join us at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Thanks for Giving Marathon. It should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And then stick around for the next hour as I'll hop over to the from our show here to do a Amigos with the boat. So I've got to do double duty that night.
Absolutely.
Should be a lot of fun. I want to thank everybody who tuned in last week for ARG Presents. That was a very successful show.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. And I want to also give shout out to everyone who caught up with me on the Friday Night Disaster stream this week, where it was a 2.5 hour extravaganza of loading things in FreeDOS, loading games in FreeDOS, and then playing those games. We played a great game of Oregon Trail Deluxe that would beat the band. You never seen me get so far in Oregon Trail. I almost made it, but I got killed. So not to ruin that game. But yeah, thanks for everybody that showed up for that. I appreciate, of course, everyone that showed up for Amigos on Friday. We got a lot of stuff cooking throughout the rest of December coming up, including all of our Christmas shows. And at the end of the year, the big extravaganza where we get boat in here and we have a huge, coming together for all of our shows, and we have our end of the year awards. It should be a lot of fun.
All right, Aaron. Say goodbye to the people, and we will see you guys on Friday.
Goodbye.
We got it going. With a spin of the wheel, we'll uncover our fate and scream it to you all in one take. We tend to be loud and we fight quite a bit, but it's an unscripted show, so you get what you get. If we stopped it right now and we just walked away, we'd be back next week, 'cause we just can't wait to play.
Thanks, everybody, for that one. Sorry about the coughing.
The continuous coughing?
Well, I was up in the snow this weekend. It's killing me. The weather is not that good. It's too cold.
So it was in the 60s today.
It wasn't in the 60s where I was. It was snow on the ground.
Sounds like a you problem, not a weather
Well,
problem.
it was a where am I problem is what it was. It's like, what am I doing here out in the cold? I should be in bed watching football. That's where I should have been.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Don't worry, I'll remedy that the second we finish this show. As I'm going to go inside, order a pizza pie, and for one of the rare nights where there's no one here but me, I'm going to sit down and watch wrestling, MMA, and football on 3 different TVs simultaneously, like a mad genius of leisure.
You know what I did? I was like, man, I never get to eat before I go do a show. I'm going to go get some food.
Yeah.
And then I quickly ate greasy, spicy Taco Bell in the car, sitting in your driveway, and then ran in here to do an hour and a half, or almost 2 hour long show. An hour and a half.
What a dumb thing you did.
Oh,
Dumb.
I didn't get any on my shirt, so I was
Well,
pretty
well
proud.
done. Oh, you got a taco in your beard. Just joking. But yeah, so there you go. That was a dumb move, by
Then
the way.
call
Yeah,
snaps for later.
there you go. So you got any parting wisdom? I didn't realize you liked Miss Dynamite that much.
Oh my gosh, I really, really
You were putting
liked
that over like gangbusters. I couldn't believe it.
a great high score game. We didn't even talk about the scoring. You ran me out the door so quick.
Well, the scoring on it is hard to follow.
No,
it's not anything like the flyer.
It's the more you kill, the higher
Well, I mean, I mentioned that you got
goes
a
up
higher
like-
score when you kill more guys.
well, yeah, it's goes up like Miss Pac-Man scoring.
That
does.
barrel strategy you've got. First of all,
Yeah.
you tried to make me look like a dork, but I didn't know anything about that. I didn't think
Play the
about moving
game,
the. I
man.
did play it, but how'd you pull that off?
I just did it.
I couldn't freaking believe that. That's a good angle. I never thought about. So I hate to give you
when
credit.
when I saw all them gather up into the middle of the screen the first time that it happened, I was
Yeah.
like, "What is going on?" Because I thought they were just gonna like, boom, like the state, like it was just gonna end. Like I ran out of time.
Yeah,
But then they all got to the center and then started walking back away. I
yeah,
was like, "Oh, I know what I'm gonna do."
yeah. I
And did it.
never saw that conglomeration.
Yeah.
Hey, are you filming a Big Rob's van right now, Rob? Because that'd be kind of cool. It's good. I'm glad to see you're eating instant fajitas in the van. I mean, I guess that's good.
I think
don't know.
that's a plan. I don't think it's currently going on.
Oh, okay. I thought he mentioned that he was actually in the van. Yeah, he's in the parking lot right there. It says it.
There you go.
Holy
Perfect.
smokes, that's awesome. Well, a big shout out to Big Rob van is rolling. Have you heard his theme? Down the old dirt road. I wouldn't want to take that van down the old dirt road.
It's a one-way trip.
Yeah, it'd be the old dirt nap for the van. That thing wouldn't get through our roads. That's dandy, Rob. Well done. Hey, just a few shout outs, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I hope everybody's adjusting to the new night. It kind of hoses some of our European fans, but that's why we tape them. All right, that's the way we do it. So, but we appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, the next show we do will be. It's amazing when this shows up. It's like, especially this year, you don't ever see it coming.
Yeah, it's like nothing.
Like
Bam!
and the thing is, usually you're plugging it too early. It's like we didn't start plugging this thing until
Well,
October.
I mean, I've been out for a month.
No,
over a month.
well, I'm just saying, I was plugging it, by God. And so here it will all come to pass. You know, I got a few ideas for the Thanks for Giving. We'll talk about
I'm
it.
glad. Well,
So
talk soon.
what we
All right.
like to do is set it up directly before we do it. Here's my plan this year: have it work without us panicking 1 second before we start the
Yeah,
show. That's the plan.
That's not the Thanks for Giving tradition.
Let's get out of here.
All right.
You got anything else?
Nope.
All right.